planning, it's better if it's Shedeur. Get the numbers from this game, and then we can really lay out. This is what he did well, and there are a couple things. I said, find me a couple things.
Jason Lloyd, the same guy who wouldn't stop dragging Shedeur Sanders, is now eating his own words. For months, this man led a crusade against Sanders, calling him overrated and insisting he'd never cut it as a real NFL quarterback. He pushed that same tired narrative every week, ignoring what was happening right in front of him. But guess what? The truth finally caught up. Jason Lloyd has officially backtracked, admitting what fans have been saying for months. Shedeur Sanders is the future, and the Browns locking him in as their franchise quarterback might be the smartest move they've made in years. Lloyd's earlier takes were downright embarrassing. He said Sanders couldn't throw into tight windows, had no awareness, and only hit wide-open receivers. Seriously? Anyone watching the games could see how off-base that was. Those talking points weren't just bad opinions. They were part of a whole narrative cooked up to undermine Sanders' rise and keep doubt swirling around his name. It wasn't about facts, it was about keeping control of the story. But that control slipped the moment Sanders stepped on the field and let his arm do the talking. In a showdown against the Steelers, one of the hardest defenses in the league, Shedeur pulled off a throw that silenced every critic in one play. He launched a laser to Harold Fannin, perfectly threading it between two defenders for a clean touchdown. The accuracy, the confidence, the timing, it was textbook perfection. That one pass completely blew Jason Lloyd's talking points to dust, proving that Shedeur wasn't just capable, he was elite. And here's the kicker, this wasn't even a fluke. Week after week, Sanders kept showing composure, leadership, and precision, even when he wasn't playing with the Browns' top unit. Still, Jason Lloyd kept throwing shade, acting like Shedeur was some experiment doomed to fail. The man was throwing tantrums on air because reality didn't fit his script. It was crystal clear that Lloyd had an agenda. He didn't want the Browns to see what was right in front of them. Shedeur Sanders is the guy, and now with every game, that fact becomes impossible to deny. While Jason Lloyd was busy trashing Shedeur Sanders, he was out here hyping up Dillon Gabriel like he was the second coming of Tom Brady. He kept insisting Gabriel was a better play manager and claimed he'd perform way better in the Browns' offense. The problem? Lloyd clearly hadn't watched Gabriel play with the same intensity or pressure that Shedeur faced. Anyone paying attention could see that Gabriel wasn't even in the same league. Sanders was putting on clinics every week, dropping dimes and leading comebacks. Meanwhile, Gabriel couldn't keep up even in mid-tier matchups. Lloyd went on air bragging about Dillon's efficiency, but the tape told a totally different story. Gabriel was missing simple reads, overthrowing easy targets, and struggling to make clean, straight passes. Half the time, he couldn't even see his receivers properly. It was painful to watch, yet Lloyd doubled down, pretending Gabriel's mistakes didn't exist. It was like he was narrating a fantasy instead of football. Fans saw right through it. Gabriel was fine, sure, but nowhere near the machine that Shedeur Sanders was becoming week after week. And while all that noise filled the headlines, Shedeur didn't even flinch. He didn't clap back, didn't post cryptic tweets, didn't engage. He just went to work. He knew the only thing that mattered was what happened between the lines. And when the Browns faced the Titans, down 13-3 in the second half, Sanders flipped the entire script. He led drive after drive with surgical precision, throwing for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. Every pass looked sharper, every read faster, every decision colder under pressure. It wasn't luck. It was pure command and confidence. Then came the Raiders game. And if anyone still doubted him, that night ended it for good. Shedeur didn't just play well, he took over. The pocket awareness, the accuracy, the leadership, it all screamed franchise quarterback. Jason Lloyd's Dillon Gabriel narrative crumbled right there on the field, while Sanders stood tall, proving that no biased agenda could hide real talent. After being down 10-7 at halftime, Shedeur Sanders came out swinging. He threw for over 206 yards and dropped 3 touchdowns, carrying the Browns straight to a 24-10 victory. His poise under pressure and laser-sharp accuracy completely flipped the momentum of the game. It wasn't just about stats, it was the leadership, the calm confidence, the way he commanded every drive. In back-to-back weeks from his comeback against the Titans to his domination of the Raiders, Sanders made it clear he wasn't just a fill-in quarterback, he was the guy. And guess who noticed? Browns GM Andrew Berry. He didn't waste a second acknowledging greatness when he saw it. After those incredible performances, Berry personally walked into that locker room and congratulated Sanders face-to-face. That moment said it all. This wasn't just another rookie run. This was the start of a franchise shift. Berry's recognition sealed the message loud and clear. Shedeur Sanders is the Browns' future. But it didn't stop there.
He still doesn't know how to flip protections. He doesn't know when he's hot. He doesn't know what he's looking at. He can only throw to wide open receivers. He doesn't make tight window throws. He doesn't throw guys open.
Team owner Jimmy Haslam himself took things a step further by meeting with Deion Sanders, Shedeur's father. That meeting put every rumor, every whisper, every piece of speculation to rest. When an owner sits down with the father of his new star quarterback, that's not casual, that's commitment. It was the Browns officially saying, "We're all in on Shadow." This was the dawning of a new era in Cleveland, and everyone in that locker room could feel it. Meanwhile, Jason Lloyd, the same guy who had spent months discrediting Sanders, suddenly started changing his tune. With each game, his anti-Shadow narrative crumbled faster. The evidence was just too strong to ignore. Lloyd, who once mocked Sanders' ability to lead or read defenses, was now forced to eat his words. He publicly admitted that Shadow had earned every bit of the recognition and respect he was getting. The same critic who once said Sanders wasn't ready was now praising him as the Browns' franchise cornerstone. Talk about a 180, the kind that only undeniable talent can force. In the end, Shedeur Sanders proved every critic wrong, and he did it in style. Through all the noise, the media agendas, and the constant doubt, he stayed locked in and let his game speak louder than any headline ever could. Jason Lloyd and his crew spent months pushing the same tired narrative, claiming Shadow wasn't franchise material, that he couldn't handle tight windows, that he lacked awareness, that he only looked good when receivers were wide open. But week after week, those claims fell apart right in front of everyone's eyes. Sanders' performances against powerhouse teams like the Titans and Raiders said it all. When the pressure was on, he didn't crack and he thrived. Every throw was precise. Every read was sharp. Every comeback was electric. He showed not just raw talent, but control, confidence, and an understanding of the game that veteran QBs take years to master. His ability to rally the Browns back from the brink turned skeptics into believers, and the stadium crowd could feel it every time he stepped under center. Before long, the Browns front office couldn't deny what the world was seeing. GM Andrew Berry didn't just praise him in interviews, he walked straight into the locker room to personally congratulate him after another standout performance. That kind of gesture from a GM speaks volumes. It was his way of saying, "You're our guy now." Then came the final confirmation. Owner Jimmy Haslam meeting directly with Deion Sanders, Shadow's father. That meeting wasn't symbolic. It was the stamp of full organizational faith. The Browns weren't testing Shadow anymore. They were building around him. Meanwhile, Jason Lloyd watched as his own narrative went up in flames. The same man who once dismissed Sanders as unproven was suddenly singing his praises. Forced to face reality, Lloyd publicly admitted that Shadow had earned every ounce of recognition coming his way. The tables had completely turned. What began as media doubt ended as pure redemption. And now, the story is crystal clear. Shedeur Sanders isn't just the future of the Browns, he's already the face of it. Yes, Garrett made history with his 23rd sack of the season, an absolute monster of a milestone. He's been a wrecking ball on defense all year, tearing through offensive lines like they were made of paper. But while all eyes were on Myles Garrett's record-breaking dominance, there was another story quietly unfolding right beside him. The rise of Shedeur Sanders.
The answer. These last 2 weeks were the opportunity coming off the Titans game to show that he can be the guy against playoff contenders, and he has not lived up to it.
Because what Sanders did in that second half against the Bengals wasn't just impressive, it was a statement. When the game seemed to be slipping away, Shadow flipped a switch. He came out of that locker room locked in, commanding the offense with the confidence of a veteran. His communication with the line, his timing with receivers, it all clicked like clockwork. Every drive had purpose, every throw had fire behind it. He wasn't just following a game plan, he was owning it. The Browns' offense started moving like a machine, and Sanders was right at the center of it. He led multiple scoring drives, carving up the Bengals' defense and shifting the entire rhythm of the game. You could feel the energy change, the sideline, the crowd. Everyone knew they were watching something special unfold in real time. And that's what makes this Browns team different right now. You've got Myles Garrett dominating on one side of the ball, the defensive juggernaut making history. And on the other side, a young quarterback proving he's got everything it takes to lead this franchise into the future. It's that perfect balance. Unstoppable defense meets explosive offense. For all the critics who said Sanders wasn't ready, that he couldn't handle the pressure, well, he just put them all on mute. His connection with the team is growing stronger by the week, and his respect in the locker room, untouchable. Even Garrett himself has been vocal about how much he respects Shadow's poise, work ethic, and ability to stay calm when the pressure hits. That's not just praise, that's validation from one of the league's best. So yes, Myles Garrett made history, but don't forget what's happening right next to him. Shedeur Sanders is earning his moment, his respect, and his future all at once. This win over the Bengals feels like the start of something big in Cleveland. Something that could define the next era of Browns football. Yes, Garrett made history with his 23rd sack of the season, an absolute monster of a milestone. He's been a wrecking ball on defense all year long, shredding offensive lines like they weren't even there. But while Myles Garrett was breaking records, another story was unfolding right beside him. The rise of Shedeur Sanders. Because what Sanders did in that second half against the Bengals wasn't just impressive, it was game-changing. When the Browns looked flat and desperate for momentum, Shedeur came out of that locker room a different man.
I think he can get them lined up. I think he can complete passes, get the ball out quickly, and keep the chains moving and not turn the ball over.
You could feel the shift immediately. He was calling adjustments at the line, communicating with receivers, and reading the Bengals' defense like an open book. Every throw had purpose, every drive had intent. He wasn't just executing plays, he was commanding the field with total control and confidence. The offense suddenly found life again. Sanders led drive after drive, slicing through one of the league's toughest defenses and sparking a comeback that no one saw coming. His precision and poise under pressure turned the entire game around, and by the final whistle, it was clear the Browns had found their leader. And that's what makes this moment special. On one side, Myles Garrett is cementing his name in NFL history with record-setting dominance. On the other, Shedeur Sanders is carving his own path, earning respect with every snap and every throw. Together, they're redefining what Cleveland football looks like, a mix of grit, fire, and pure determination. The locker room feels it too. Players rally around Sanders because they see his work ethic, his composure, and that quiet confidence that separates good quarterbacks from great ones. Even Garrett himself has spoken out about his respect for Shedeur's leadership and focus. That's not just talk, that's validation from one of the best defenders in the league. Yes, Garrett made history with that 23rd sack, but don't overlook what's happening behind center. Shedeur Sanders is earning his spotlight, silencing critics, and proving he belongs in the conversation as the Browns' future. This win over the Bengals feels like the start of something real, something that could shape the next chapter of Cleveland football. What do you think about Shedeur Sanders' rise to becoming the Browns' franchise quarterback? Do you believe his performances against tough teams like the Titans and Raiders were enough to silence the critics? Or is there still more to prove? How do you feel about Jason Lloyd downplaying Shedeur's abilities and then backtracking on his words? With Browns management now fully backing Sanders, does he have what it takes to lead the team to long-term success? Let us know your thoughts, and don't forget to like, subscribe, share, and see you on the next one.